Thank you. Thank you everyone for joining us. And today we have with us our three panelists. We have Avinash Gorkindi, MD and CEO of Zaggle. We have Ketan Gaikwad, MD and CEO of RXIL, and Sandeep Mohindru, CEO of MI Exchange, M1 Exchange. So good evening, gentlemen. I think for the discussion, I think the topic today, very interesting topic, innovative tech solutions solving for MSME problems. So we all know how much of contribution is there from the MSME side to the country, to the economy. Globally too, I think it's a large chunk. Globally, as they say, MSMEs contribute to about 90% of the business number of companies, 60 to 70% of the employment, and about 50% of the GDP. And in India, numbers are not far behind. I think it's about little over 35% of the GDP and about close to about 110 million people employed in SMEs. Now, notwithstanding this large piece of contribution to the economy, to the GDP, I guess there are still a lot of problems that we contend with as MSMEs, as SMEs. Gaps are the typical usual gaps, usual suspects, as I would call them: infrastructure, skill, of course, ability to get the right talent, and most important, financial, right? Maybe for this particular discussion, we will kind of largely keep up to the third imperative of financial challenges. And I see that all the three of you have varied perspectives to the whole thing in terms of your own businesses. A couple of you kind of working on the receivables management, streamlining that portion, and one more largely managing the spend management, expense management, and so on and so forth. So maybe we can kind of get started from there. And maybe I will probably start with Ketan first to understand what's your opinion on how technology continues to play this key role? Because today, MSMEs continue to struggle with funds, NPAs are on the rise. The predictions are even more. At least the last CRISIL report said that it would rise from 9.3% in 2022 to close to 10 to 11% in 2024. So with all this, how do you think organizations can manage their receivables? Ketan.
Yeah, so thank you, Srikanth, and thank you, the team over here. Thank to the Business Insider team. See, look, when you talk about MSMEs, the problem is aggravated for the fact that, when you talk of the MSMEs, where there is a patronizing attitude from the corporates. I'm just going a little bit behind. So when the MSMEs supply to the large corporates decide, or the large corporates or the government department decides when they should be making the supplies. But they also decide when they will make the payments. So despite the fact that they need to make the payment as per the contractual dates. So this continues to be a problem not only for India, but it is a perennial problem. It's a problem for all across the globe. It is the same scenario when we talk across to various geographies across India, out of India also. So in India, we started something as called a TReDS platform. So Sandeep is also there from M1 Exchange. So this is a digital platform, and this completely continues to tackle the delayed payment problem. And just to give a history, or just to give a perspective of the delayed payment issues, there's a report by Global Alliance for Mass Entrepreneurship. It talks about delayed payments of around 10.7 lakh crore. When the study was carried out in May 2022, it talks about 10.7 lakh crore as the outstanding for large corporates, and from the government departments, and for many areas of the buyers. It's a delayed payment. And of which 80% is 8.5 lakh crores continues to be for micro and small, and 3.3 lakh crores continues to be from the large corporates. So and these are the perennial problems. So to tackle this problem, 5 years back, the government of India and the RBI came together to set up a TReDS platform, which is a digital platform. And the beauty of it is that, look, you need to get these three parties on the platform, which is the buyer, seller, and the financiers, and do the discounting for the MSMEs. I come from a banking background. I come from an MNC banking background, where we, look, this is a unique platform in the sense there is no bank which does a receivables purchase program for MSMEs. When you go to a bank, the bank also have a criteria, which is a seller selection criteria. So when you do a receivables purchase program, even the seller has to be above a certain grade.
Yeah.
And even the buyer has to be definitely above a grade, because you are taking a risk against over here. Now, this is a program which is for MSMEs in India, which is a unique program where the MSMEs can go onto the platform, get the invoices, on the platform, and then the buyer comes and accepts it. It's a digital platform, and the financials come and bid for it, and over a period, what we have seen is there is an increasing attractiveness towards the platform, and how there is an increasing acceptance by the corporates, which was not there earlier, that how can they come on the platform and start doing the discounting. So this is a whole lot of digital innovation, I would say.
Yeah.
And so and look, we also represented in the G20, and we had these various countries coming across along, and they said that this is a very unique platform.
Okay.
And that is the feedback. Look, because you cannot have an MSME coming and getting the thing and getting the bills discounted, which normally, if you were to go to a normal bank, you would have to incur a high cost of funding over there against a collateral. So this is a fantastic innovation, I would say, that which RBI and the government of India is pushing for it.
Yeah.
We are seeing increased volumes, and I think that over a period of time, we will see the entire ecosystem going digital and coming on the platform.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's right, Ketan. And I think maybe this is one of the other leadership positions that we take as a country, right? As you speak on G20 and things like that, we're building so much on the tech stack, the India stack, whether it is the UPI or the Aadhaar or whatever, right? I mean, some of these things, I think we've taken leadership position, and this will probably be one more of them. Great. Maybe let me move to Sandeep, and and Sandeep, you talk about. As an organization, you talk about trade receivable discounting system, right? That's what you talk about. And from an organization perspective, how do you think what will be the larger impact that you see you will create, one in the near future, in the long-term future, with all the technology that you're building around it?
Sure. Thanks, Shrikant. Before I answer your question, can I refer to few statements that you made and supplementing what Ketan has added?
Of course.
One of the points you said is that NPAs is on the rise, and it'll from 9% it'll go to 11%, it is estimated. And what my organization and Ketan's organization is doing, you will be surprised that on TReDS, the funding given to SMEs, the NPA is close to average about 0.3%, 0.4%, less than 0.5%. Okay. I'm talking about a 5-year horizon. And I'm talking about total disbursement of about 1,20,000 crore approximately. Out of that, the NPA is 0.3 to 0.5%.
Fantastic.
Okay, so really speaking, this is the innovation, like you said, India has done, wherein the funding is going to the SME. The bank is giving funding to SME without taking a risk call on SME. The risk call is on the customer of the SME, and thereby the NPA is negligible, and it is scalable because the financials of the SME are not evaluated.
Yes.
Okay. So, and there is no collateral requirement, like Ketan said. So this is just helping you to understand. So hopefully we should make an impact. Now I'll link this with your question that you were saying impact. So hopefully we will make an impact that we will not let NPA rise beyond 9%. Great.
That'd be good.
Okay. So having said that, what we are doing, and as TReDS, like you said, Shrikant, the tech stack that is getting built up and that is getting, what further are we going to bring up, is essentially we have made available this technology by which the SMEs from small and mid-tier cities are able to log into the system online, use a mobile phone, and get their invoices discounted.
Wow. Okay.
So between TReDS, between Ketan's company and my company, minimum coverage we are giving is more than 1,500 cities in India.
Wow. Okay.
So, and the statistics is approximately 60% funding out of this 1,20,000 crore approximately is going to about small and micro and small.
Okay.
Okay. So essentially it's the tech which is enabling this.
Absolutely.
And otherwise, imagine going to a C city, 1500 cities may imagine going to a branch of a bank and getting your invoice discounted.
Yeah.
It is not dreamable, believable kind of
possible. Yeah, I agree.
Now, how have we enabled this? Again, the second point is that there are 50 to 60 large banks in India, approximately, as far as India bank space is concerned. I'm leaving apart cooperative banks, I'm leaving apart small finance banks, but as far as the large banks is concerned, they're in the range of about 50 to 60 in India, out of which on TReDS, approximately 52 to 53 banks are live. Okay. Now, because of this technology that people are logging in from 1500 cities, they are getting access to 52 banks in one platform. And they don't have to do their KYC with 52 banks. They don't have to sign loan agreements with 52 banks for discounting their invoices. They have to sign agreement with one platform called TReDS, and that's about it.
Wow.
Okay. Now, similarly, on the banking side, Shrikant, the banks don't have to create branch banking network for discounting the invoices of people.
Correct.
It's a 2-people team in a large bank like let's say Punjab National Bank or a State Bank of India. State Bank has probably 8-people team, 4 regions, 4 zones kind of a structure, and 2 people in each zone, and they are handling TReDS. Okay, and let's say 1,20,000 crore would have been disbursed and collected if put together by 50 banks, average 4 people in a bank looking after this, by not more than 200 people in the entire country as bankers.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. So that's the kind of flip the platform or the technology is able to bring. That is the cost of doing business for a bank.
Yeah.
Cost of doing business for an SME from the city, small city, and the ease and convenience.
Absolutely.
It's completely changed. The experience is completely changed. Right. And the disbursement happens next day morning. Whatever bills get discounted today by 9 p.m., 8 p.m., whatever in the evening, it's a 24/7 operation.
Wow.
Whatever invoices get discounted by 8 p.m., they get transferred next day morning by 12 noon into the SME's account.
Wow. Okay.
And on the due date, that is when the invoice becomes due for repayment, the payment is collected from the customer by the exchange and repaid to the banker who has paid to the SME on day 0. Okay, so the bank doesn't have to worry about collection. The SME is out of collection. The SME transfers his risk to the bank.
Yeah.
Okay, so therefore, if you look at it from an SME perspective, his risk of doing business has come down, his cost has come down, his convenience has gone up, bank's convenience have gone up, bank's cost of doing business has come down.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
and I think you become the feet on street or the last mile link for both of them, right? I mean, you're at the doorstep in that sense. So that makes it even more easy and probably gives them a good night's sleep with all this. Absolutely. No, this is good. This is really good to hear. Good. So let me move from this lens to the other side of the lens to Avinash. And Avinash, I think Zaggle largely works on accounts payable, largely works on spend management. Expense management is what you call it, right? I mean,
yes.
Largely impacting the workforce, the employees, and so on and so forth. So how do you think this has kind of impacted the overall liquidity of people and eventually organizations?
See, I think TReDS is a great example of what technology can do for MSMEs, right? I'll just step back and tell you what's our experience working with a lot of MSMEs. They're grappling with 3-4 challenges, right? One, technology has disrupted the way the world operates at an amazing pace in the last decade and a half, right? An MSME in India probably 20 years ago never thought that they'd be competing with a US giant like Amazon or a Walmart, right? And there are a lot of large companies in India who have come in, who are now both at one place, possibly collaborating with some of these MSMEs, but also in a very big way disrupting how they do the business, right? So on the one hand, they are competing with these biggies. On the other hand, they have to grapple with a lot of new compliances that have come in around GST, around advanced tax, etc. Now, admittedly, as a nation, that's a great step ahead. In my view, I think we are progressing, but it does put a lot of pressure on the MSME to be able to digitize, right?
Yeah.
With this COVID hit, right? So there were two big sort of like challenges that the MSMEs were grappling with, and then COVID hit, and that sort of shook up the MSME ecosystem. It shook up a lot of industries, but MSMEs were more impacted. All said and done. And so now MSMEs are trying to come back, right? And one of the things that you will see MSMEs talk about, and in private circles and in public circles as well, is that their awareness that, look, they need to be embracing technology, right? Because they need to compete with these big folks, and this potentially is their tool to be able to be relevant. Otherwise, they're going to be out of business in a few decades. And nobody understands their business as well as the MSMEs, right? They live and breathe their businesses, so they know it. But they're looking for tools which will allow them to be able to do that in a cost-effective way, in a multilingual vernacular way, and in a way that their data is secure. They are not feeling that today you're working with me, but tomorrow you're going to start competing with me, right? Which is a possibility in the case of MSMEs. They've seen this happen, right? Yeah. So they're very wary of this, that my data should be secure, my data should not be used to tomorrow compete against me, right? And that's where companies, like we are a B2B2C SaaS fintech company, we digitize spends, we work with both mid-market companies as well as SMEs, and enterprises to digitize their spend. So as you mentioned, accounts payable, expense management, employee benefits, we work on a lot of these solutions. And the whole benefit, Srikanth, for the MSME is that now they have a single consolidated view as to where their money is getting spent, right? Whether it's on the employee side, whether it's their vendor payments, because MSMEs themselves have a lot of vendors, right? And they are making these payments. Their ticket sizes may not be like a large corporate, but they have these payments. They need to keep track of how much they need to pay, whom they need to pay, and is there a way to optimize on that cost? Today, if you ask them, all this information is sitting in the promoter's mind, right? And now with the quantum of information that is coming up on a day-to-day basis, that promoter is getting more and more squeezed. That proprietor is getting more and more squeezed in terms of bandwidth. And he or she needs tools, right? They need technology tools which are vernacular, which are easy for them to use, which are, if I may dare say, respectful of them, because a lot of the tools that potentially are offered to MSMEs are at times condescending as well, right? Saying, you don't do this, you don't do that. Look, they have their limitations. So I've sat through some of these demos of systems where folks have sort of been more preachy. We take a more collaborative approach where we say, hey, look, we are here to help you, right? And as much as we can, we are here to learn from our MSME customers as well, right? So these sort of solutions have really made a huge difference in these companies, because one is the receivable part, which TReDS and platforms like that is solving, but also they need to know how much are they spending, right? What are they spending on? Is it really relevant? Do they have the checks and balances? A simple thing like a GST input credit, right? Are they actually getting all the input credit that they are qualifying for, right? These are things which we are able to help them track, and we are able to help them digitize, along with bringing access to credit. So we work with a bunch of lenders, NBFCs, banks. We have our own corporate credit card solutions now, purchase card solutions, which allow these MSMEs to access credit.
No, Avinash, I think right. I mean, one, you're right in sense. One is both inflow and outflow needs to be measured. And not, and in an MSME case, it's not just the quantum, right? It's also the timeliness. I mean, it has to come in time. And when Sandeep said, even if I discount that bill, I mean, that invoice at 8 p.m. in the night and next afternoon I'm having it, that shows the kind of liquidity
Brilliant.
it's building, right? The predictability. I know that if I'm discounting X today, I'm getting it tomorrow. Otherwise, earlier it used to take so many days, and physically the document is not okay.
Yeah.
All those things take a lot of time, right? Good. So I think one thing is very evident, right? All of us are in violent agreement to say that tech adoption is the answer. Tech adoption is the only answer to building that sustainable competitive advantage that every organization needs to be globally competitive, to be agile, to be scalable also as they grow, because MSMEs also need to be scalable, right? Because I mean, they are growing constantly. And if they have to keep growing constantly, they have to be very agile. And of course, technology is largely the answer. But if I step back and see, I mean, and when both all of you talk about MSMEs, you're talking of a wide variety of organizations in terms of their own businesses, right? I mean, they may not be, all of them may not be tech friendly, they may not be tech native in that sense. So given that, how do you see the adoption happening, and how are they taking it like a fish to water, or is it taking more time? How is this moving?
So
I'll start with Avinash and go back.
Sure. So our experience has been very interesting, Srikant. One, what we have seen is MSME owners, MSME people who are running those businesses are incredibly smart and clever. And they may not come across as smart and clever. And the way they do it is by, if they don't see value in your solution, they turn around and say, "ये तो हमें समझ में नहीं आता, sir. ये तो high tech है. आप रहने ही दो हमारे लिए." The whole idea is that he wants to save on his time, but he wants to be polite to us. And so he, instead of saying that, look, your solution doesn't make sense to me, he's downplaying his own, size of business, and thereby saving on time and saying goodbye to us, right? So we realized that fairly early, and we said, hey, look, what is it that a MSME solution really needs to have, right? First of all, a very clear articulation of the value proposition. Okay? What's in it for me needs to be very clearly articulated to the MSME owner and the decision makers, and they understand business like nobody's business, right? So they understand money. They need to see value very clearly. Are they saving cost? Is it going to help them in increasing their revenues, or is it going to help them in compliance? Beyond these three things, everything else is smoke and mirror. Okay. It has to do at least one of these three. If you can do multiple things, that's all the more better. But it has to do one of these three things at least for them before you even start getting their attention, right? Secondly, it has to be not intimidating, right? The solution cannot be intimidating to a user, not just the owner of the or the promoter of the company, but to his or her employees. They should feel comfortable using it, right? That is most important, because nobody likes, when I'm a paying customer, nobody likes to be made to feel that I'm inadequate, right? I'm a customer, I need to be made to feel good about using your solution, right? While you bring in value, I also expect that to come in. And that's where I keep going back to saying, hey, is anybody who says they have a MSME solution, I ask, does it work vernacularly? Does it cover Indian languages? Not because the principal in the MSME doesn't know English. They know English, but they just want to operate in a language of their comfort. It could be Tamil, it could be Telugu, it could be Kannada, Marathi, Punjabi, whatever, right? But they just prefer Hindi, they prefer that language. And if as a service provider, I'm providing that solution in that language, that's where I start to establish a connect with the users, right? So there's value, there has to be, convenience, there has to be things which are working vernacularly, right? And once you hit these three sort of bullet points, that's when you start seeing tremendous traction kicking, right? So that's our experience, and that's what has worked for us.
No, good, Avinash. I think you're right. I think, again, same thing, right? I mean, if you want people to adopt, they have to be comfortable with it. And you can give that comfort only when you go to that last mile, go to the doorstep, talk in the language of the day they're comfortable with. I mean, everybody might know English, but the comfort may be in something else, and you need to kind of do that.
So I'll give you one small example, right? A lot of the systems that work in India today still send an email and an alert in a SMS, right?
Mm-hmm.
We also added WhatsApp,
Yeah.
right? Now, small thing, but made a huge difference in a MSME's life.
Yes.
Because if you're getting alerts in WhatsApp, that's the medium that they are comfortable with. They are using. So we did that, and that really helped in the uptake.
Yeah, sure. Maybe I'll move backwards and say, ask Ketan, how do you think has been the adoption, and how has been the response when you've looked at a span of companies there?
So just, he's touched upon, Avinash has touched upon a very good points about value and convenience and vernacular thing. And actually this is universal.
Mm-hmm.
What we have seen is, look, when we started the journey, we were first taking the onboarding. We were doing the onboarding of the customers manually.
Mm-hmm.
Then we used to send them the application forms. They would fill it up. Then we will edit it again, send it back, and ask them to sign it. And again, they'll get it back. So there should be to and fro, and where it would take at least 8 to 10 days for onboarding a single MSME customer, MSME supplier. But we embarked on a program called digital onboarding, wherein the data which can be digitally pulled from various APIs. Like if you put in the GSTN number, you can get the GSTN details. If you put in the SIN number, you put in all the details. You can do the verification for the income tax number and all that. So that actually helped us during the COVID times.
True.
So that and what we had seen is that, look, the customers are a little bit averse to coming and giving the details, but when they find that there is a convenience over there, when they find that there is a value over there, but at the same time, and this is something which they need to adopt it faster. We have seen that the adoption is there. But also, what needs to be seen is, look, today India is more, advancing towards very much towards digital, innovation based on the financial, based on the stacks which are there for there. So, when you talk about regulatorily, think also that now we know that e-invoicing is compulsory.
True.
E-invoicing is compulsory. So now that is also a digital form of invoicing, isn't it? Now it's 10 crores, 20 crores, I think, or 20 crores has become 10 crores, and it's going to become 1 crore up to 1 crore by March.
Okay.
So then it becomes very much necessary for each and every company to be digitally savvy, that they have to produce invoices in a proper electronic format. And actually, see, this also comes out with a couple of advantages for the MSMEs, because you have an uniform format. Then it goes to GSTN, and how we are working towards is that, look, we're also working towards how we can integrate that particular aspect into the platform. So that means if the e-invoice is generated, it goes to the GSTN, from GSTN, how can we pull those invoices into the TReDS platform? So, you don't have to pull in manual details over there. So the adoption, what we have seen is that the adoption is excellent. People are increasing, and the best part is that, look, people are saying, how can we digitalize, do more, because they're finding there is a value. There's less of manpower requirement. At the same time, there's uniformity in transactions. So we find that people are adopting to it. Again, it comes back to the same thing about usability and compliance issue, where both these things are concerned. If it's digital, it's much better. Plus, now today, one more thing is that the government is also focusing on, when you talk about MSMEs, it's talking about formalization of the MSMEs. We embarked on a major project called as Udyam Assist program, wherein every MSME which gets registered with the Udyam portal, they can also be formalized, in the sense a KYC will be done, and then you don't have to do a KYC for any other institution. So because KYC due diligence is a major thing. So these are the advantages which I feel people are adopting it. MSMEs are adopting it to a larger extent, if you talk about MSMEs.
Absolutely. No, I think good. And I think they also see the benefit, right? I mean, when they are able to get that liquidity, when they're able to get that, they're able to see the benefit. I mean, people will obviously quickly move on to the model, right? But Sandeep, I think you also talked about, between you and MX, I mean, you talked about spanning about 1,500 cities. So again, the same thing. Even in the last of the cities, even the smallest of the cities, you find people quickly accepting this need to change fast, adopt technology, etc. How is this how has been your experience in this piece?
Yeah, Shrikant. So my experience is no surprise than what Avinash and Ketan have said. If there is value for them, like in case of our proposition, he is getting his payment instantly, passing on risk. He learns it, MSME learns it within few minutes, seconds, and and using mobile phone, computer is no big deal today.
Yes.
So even in these smaller cities, it's no big deal today. And in few cases, we've seen the tiniest organization, the promoters' kids are helping him in the first few transactions. And thereafter, then the promoter runs on his own. I mean, he doesn't need too much of hand-holding, and they learn how to manage the technology. So really speaking, they adopt it very fast. I would rather urge that I hope they are understanding that this usage of technology for their businesses in their main line of business, suppose they are into production or suppose they are into design of something, if they can adopt technology in their main line of business, then like Avinash said, they would be ready with a modern day today, and they would be able to compete with the global suppliers.
Sure.
So that is something that I hope they are learning from this experience. This experience we are taking to 1,500 cities. They are learning from this experience and trying to replicate it in their other areas as well.
Great.
Finance is one such area. I mean, if all three of us on the call are handling the finance area in some way or the other.
Yeah.
But are they using it in their production field, in their design field, in their quality field? I hope they are adopting it in their other areas as well.
Great. It was good to hear. At least from whatever you're saying that people are definitely adopting it to it as long as they see the value, as long as they see the convenience and so on, which is very fair, right? I mean, because their core business is to do something else, and if they have to adopt all this, they have to really see value in it. Otherwise, why would they spend their time, effort, money on it? Absolutely. And I think largely, if we really look at this whole thing, MSMEs, I think in that sense have been taking to skill, and if MSMEs do adopt so much of digital transformation, I think the whole journey of the $1 trillion digital economy also will come closer to that. I mean, that is what we're saying as a country. We're saying that all the $1 trillion digital economy, 500 billion, which is half of it, is going to come through the economic value add of the digital adoption across segments, across various industries. And I'm sure each one of these is going to contribute that small pie in that journey, right? So that's good. And everybody today talks about, in conclusion, I would probably want to say that, today digital transformation of SMEs can only probably be the key for the potential leaders of tomorrow. Unless they do this today, they can't be the leaders of tomorrow. Or maybe if I can put it the other way, today for MSMEs, I think technology is no more an impediment, but only an investment for progress, investment for success, right? Earlier, they would probably look at it, I have to put money into this and what is my return? But today, like the way all of you say, value, convenience, all this actually matters, and it's looked at as an investment. It's looked at as more a ease of doing business from their perspective. Great. Thank you, gentlemen. I think, thank you all for your perspectives. I think, I'm sure technology and digitization will go a long way in the growth of MSMEs and their contribution to the GDP of India, to the economy of India, and to the world as a whole. Thank you very much for the time. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.